Hey, a few days ago, I played a video of a guy speaking at the Michigan State Capitol, and to me, he looked like a right wing gun guy. But his speech was super surprising. He identifies as a Boogaloo boy, and the young man reached out to us, and I had the opportunity to hear straight from the source, which is always better. So, corporate media can't be trusted, and corporate media is about creating fear and sensationalism. And I'm going to presume that this guy is genuine. The question I always think about is how do we reach out to fellow working people like this? How do we find common interests? There are no easy answers, and these are always uncomfortable questions. And I'm not just talking about this in an academic theory kind of way, but in real world terms. We can't ignore this is happening in the country, and it's going to get worse. Working people are being brutalized. People are alienated, disillusioned. People know they've been abandoned by their government, and now they're looking for community. They're looking for tribes and looking for connection because we live in a failed state and a failed society. This pandemic has made it explicitly clear that our government has abandoned its people. And how do we talk to them? Is the left going to turn into Hillary Clinton and call them deplorables and discard them? Instead of demonizing people because they don't hold the exact same set in stone ideology that we have, and if you actually traveled around America as I have, you will find people's ideologies are wildly inconsistent and always in flux and constantly changing.
I do want to clarify before this interview goes on. I do kind of generally agree with most of the stuff that guy said in that speech right now. I do feel like the government is sort of tyrannical. I think it's more tyrannical on the right wing of the spectrum. So I kind of think people on the right wing of the spectrum who think it's tyrannical from the left is sort of delusional. But I mean, I've spoken to some right wing friends of mine, and if you put things in a certain context, you can get them agree with fucking borderline socialist policies. You just have to not be condescending pricks about it. So let me see what Jimmy Dore and Mr. Boogaloo here has to say. Maybe he's a radicalized Michigan anarchist. I don't mind unity if it's for the right policies. I'm suspicious of anyone with body armor and weapons that comes from the right wing. And if he means tyranny by defending the Capitol from the storming, I have to say, not only do I disagree with the Boogaloo Boys, I disagree with Jimmy Dore. That was fucking treason. These people need to be cracked down upon. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. This is not tolerable.
Behind that name, please welcome to the show, Magnus Panvita. Hi, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Jimmy. Nice to meet you. Kind of crazy that I'm here. I would have never expected to end up here, but longtime fan.
I would never expect to be talking to a right-wing guy in a Hawaiian shirt. I never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more of an anarchist, but
oh, okay, all right. We'll get it. So let's get into it. Let's get in. First of all, tell people how you got your name. Now, I found out that your parents were hippies.
Yeah, I was raised in the middle of nowhere next to a little pagan hippie commune that I used to go to. I used to be an environmental activist my whole life. So, yeah, kind of not what you would expect for most people.
Wow. Okay. So, and how did you get the name?
We had to come up with kind of our own names on the commune. We didn't want to go by our own names, so everybody had their witchy, hippie, D&D names, essentially. So I came up with that when I was like 13. I've used it ever since.
So now that is not, so are you, okay, so that is not what people think of when they think of right-wing militia types or the Proud Boys or Boogaloos or anything. That's not what they think. They don't think of a guy brought up on a commune, got to pick his own name. His parents are hippies, and he spent most of his life as an environmental activist. That's not what people think of. So how did you go from that to Boogaloo Boys?
Oh, that's just because kind of the whole thing the media doesn't talk about with the Boogaloo Boys is we're more of like the libertarian Green Party militia. Like if I wanted to join a regular militia that flies Confederate flags and it's a bunch of fat old white dudes, that's there. But we kind of formed out of a bunch of libertarians and anti-war activists and everything wanting a place of our own. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the colorful Hawaiian print and, a lot of our members being LGBT and, across the entire, every ethnicity, every spectrum. And we wanted more of a home for ourselves. So we kind of grew out of not wanting to be the traditional right-wing conservative white dude militia.
So you're not about hating gays, and you don't hate the gays?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I was told that.
Matter of fact, I'm not the most straight man myself. So.
Oh well, you better. Okay, watch out. So Jude Law, is that your guy? That's my guy. I don't know who you. I don't know who you go for.
Orlando Bloom, actually.
Great choice.
So
they let me watch too much Lord of the Rings as a kid.
So now I already got in trouble for even playing your video on my. When I say in trouble, I mean the usual bad faith attackers came at me. The people who want to keep us divided, the people who take corporate money, that kind of stuff. Now tell me about the because I'm since I played your video, other blue check reporter types have been sending me news articles about how the Boogaloo Boys are violent racists and terrorists, and they even killed a cop, and a couple of them got arrested on the way to a rally, a Black Lives Matter rally, and they had explosives. Now that's not made up, right? I saw it on 60 Minutes.
No, that's not made up, and obviously we're an entire national movement. Hundreds of thousands of people. You're gonna have idiots. You're gonna have accelerationists and extremists and people that do things that we don't want them to do. And it's become even harder now that we're banned off of all social media that we can't even keep track of the idiots in our movement and deal with them. So that's been fun.
Oh, so you're saying that by suppressing the speech of the most extreme members and the most violent members, it's now hard to tell who they are.
Yeah, and a lot of people on Twitter and everything will be like, oh, you guys might not be neo-Nazis, but there are neo-Nazi Boogaloo people. And I'm like, well, I don't know where they are. I can't find them or talk to them. They're on a million different websites, so I can't deal with them. We can't go out and purge these people from our movement because we've been blown all over the internet. When we were all on Facebook, we had this under control. We never had this problem. But once we got banned off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I even got banned off of Google and PayPal. So
that, yeah, I know. I know. And so you're saying the censoring of people more extreme than you, and actually people who are violent, the censoring of their speech is now actually creating a bigger problem because it's harder to identify those people and weed them out.
Absolutely. Like when we were all on Facebook and we would be in group messenger and everything, and a guy was like, oh, I had a really bad day. I think I'm just going to, do something stupid. I'm going to fly off the handle. We can't wait any longer. We could all talk him down and be like, no, that's stupid. Don't go out and do that. That's not what we're about. And we could all work that out. Now that guy is on some parlor chat buried deeply around a bunch of really iffy people egging him on. And there's no one there to tell him, hey, that's not what this movement's about. We're not here to just go out and shoot cops and commit terrorist attacks. It's never been what it's about.
So I've been told that the Boogaloo Boys want a racial civil war.
No, not at all. The whole calling it a Boogaloo, the whole meme behind it was just that it's a bad sequel to original because it came from the Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo movie, which was just a bad sequel to a bad movie. And in our context, it just means some form of civil conflict, whether that be a peaceful singing revolution, whether that be some awful government civil war, whether that be a second revolutionary civil war, or to the idiot neo-Nazi types, they would consider it a race war. And that's a meme that's been around forever. So when it comes to us, we are more of we view this as a upcoming, hopefully peaceful second American Revolution, where all of these groups, like I talked about, come together, and we tell these giant corporations and these two political parties that we're done with them. We don't want them anymore, and it's time to go.
And so you do understand, though, when people see you dressed in military gear with your beard and you're carrying an AR-15 or whatever that is, that immediately it scares the shit out of people, and that they think all bad things about you, that you are racist, that you want violence. And, because the president just stoked the violence on January 6th and stuff like that. So you do understand that, though, right?
Yeah. I get it. I have disagreements with it, but especially after this whole summer and everything, I've traveled around to a lot of events, and I can tell you now, everyone has guns. The BLM protesters have guns. The Proud Boys have guns. We have guns. The cops have guns. Everybody's walking around really armed. I had a gun pulled on me in Detroit over this summer by bikers when I was doing security for a BLM event, which was funny. So
you did security for a BLM event? How did that come about?
Because before the mainstream media even wrote a single article about us, we had blown up everywhere because all across the country, we were showing up to George Floyd events, because the unreported story behind all of this is we have a lot in common with the Breonna Taylor story, because within 48 hours of what happened to Breonna Taylor, separately in Maryland, a man named Duncan Lemp was killed in a no-knock raid. The police shot him through his window and shot his pregnant girlfriend. They then lied about why they got the warrant. They lied and said they shot him from inside the building when it came out only 2 weeks ago, almost a year later, they killed him from outside of the building. So then we started going out as libertarians, going out to BLM events with, Breonna Taylor signs, Duncan Lemp signs, being like, hey, this is across the political spectrum. This police state thing that's going on, they're killing everybody. And we're out here and we're in support. We disagree with this. So all summer long, we did both marched in solidarity and in some cases did security for BLM events where you had these other groups coming to fight people. And we were welcomed with open arms across all of these. Like, I can send you a million Facebook posts and live stream of people being like, we're so happy you're here. We love you. And then the media establishment caught wind that there was armed white libertarian dudes marching in support with a bunch of socialists and BLM and everything. And they said, unacceptable. And they dropped the hammer. And that's when all of the Department of Homeland Security and anti-extremist researchers came out of the woodwork and like, oh, these are white supremacists. These are evil people. They're only there to kill people and everything. And the ride began.
So you were actually welcomed by Black Lives Matter. You actually provided security for Black Lives Matter. You actually marched in solidarity against police violence because you realize it's not a left-right issue. It's a us against them issue, right? It's the
Absolutely.
cops against us. It's the establishment against us, and the laws all favor them, and it protects them. And you're right. I think I agree with that. How could you disagree with that? How about? And so tell us some more. Would the majority of the Boogaloo boys agree with your sentiments that you said in that video and what you're saying right now? Would the majority of the Boogaloo boys agree with you?
Absolutely. Like, it pretty much our core foundation is if you're not a bigoted piece of shit and you understand that both parties are the problem and you're willing to do something about it and you're willing to get out in the streets and you're willing to make your voice heard, you're welcome. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you do. In that video, it doesn't show it, but I walked in, the woman standing next to me is a local BLM organizer for Lansing, Michigan, and I walked in with the local anti-fascist organization as well. So it wasn't just us standing up there. It was the local BLM, it was the local anti-fascist organization, and it was the Boogaloo. And we kind of represent this idea we've been pushing of the Unity Coalition. And we're growing pretty big in both Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan, to where we've been marching together constantly. There's a Boogaloo group in Kentucky, in Louisville, called the United Pharaohs Guard that's been out with BLM protesters every day since the very beginning, and they're welcome with open arms.
So do you know the history of people who do this kind of thing? You know what it is, right? The people who try to combine the populist left, the populist right. to fight the establishment. You know the history of people who do this, right?
Yeah, we get mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah, and killed out in the
Yep.
open. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they did to Fred Hampton when he did this. But you're going to do it anyway. So you reach out to the Black Lives Matter. You reach out to Antifa. The Boogaloo boys reach out to Antifa. The Black Lives Matter. You march. You're anti-war. You're for peace. You're against racism. You're against police brutality. What else? What would be some other big things?
Pro sex work decriminalization, legalize all drugs.
After I finish this interview Jimmy Dore is doing with I don't remember his name, to be honest with you, but it's okay. I'll bring him back up right now. The anarchist that is apparently, I don't mean anarchist in a bad way, because I've had friends who are anarchists. You know, I get it. The system is shitty. All right. So there has been a lot said right there. That, to be honest with you, I was not aware of. If that's true, I need to open another tab here and do a little research. First of all, who the fuck is Fred Hampton? Let's see here. I feel like you're ignorant fuck. Okay, Freddie Allen Hampton. Born August 30th, 1948. Assassinated December 4th, 1969. Was an American activist and revolutionary socialist. He came to prominence in Chicago as chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party and deputy chairman of the National BPP. In this capacity, he founded the Rainbow Coalition, a prominent multicultural political organization that initially included the Black Panthers, Young Patriots, and the Young Lords, an alliance among major Chicago street gangs to help end infighting and work for social change. That sounds... oh, you know what? I think I've heard references to this guy before. Kind of feel bad that I don't know more about him. Let's see. Looks like there was a raid by a tactical unit of the Cook County State Attorney's Office in conjunction with the Chicago Police Department and the FBI. During the raid, Panther Mark Clark was also killed, and several others were seriously wounded. In January 1970, a coroner's jury held an inquest and ruled the deaths of Hampton and Clark to be justifiable homicide. A civil lawsuit was later filed on behalf of the survivors and relatives of Hampton and Clark. It was resolved in 1982 by a settlement of $1.85 million. The city of Chicago, Cook County, and the federal government each paid 1/3 to a group of 9 plaintiffs. Given revelations about the illegal COINTEL program and documents associated with the killing, scholars now widely consider Hampton's death an assassination under the FBI's initiative. An official FBI assassination. Isn't that amazing? Just so you know, for my listeners, the reason I'm slurring is because I'm in the middle of also doing a review of some excellent IPA. So please forgive me. So that's one of the most interesting interviews I've ever seen. It does shine a new light on the Boogaloo boys. I was not aware of a lot of these things. I did not realize that they did do security for BLM. I'm going to do a follow-up to this video. I'm going to investigate a lot of these claims thoroughly just to make sure that this isn't bullshit. But from what I watched, you know, the Boogaloo boys might not be so bad. And I do love Hawaiian shirts. I think that's because I'm a fat guy with a neck beard, a regular soy boy. But I love, Hawaiian shirts. Um, so that's a real easy get for me. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty pro Second Amendment. I kind of, think you should be able to have assault rifles as long as you're not a violent threat to those around you. You're not a psychopath. There should be background checks, etc. But we can get down to the nitty gritty when the time comes. From that interview, he said that not only was he pro BLM, that he would be willing to track down neo-Nazis within his movement and purge them. Those are pretty strong words, and if it's true, it's a little bit of respect gained for me. Again, I am gonna do a part 2 to make sure I'm not full of shit, because there is a lot of right-wing grifters. Not saying this gentleman is, but we'll see. And I did agree with him on the Second Amendment for the most part, I think. I do agree, I like the fact when the Black Panthers go out there. I like socialist RA groups. Go out there with your rifles and show it's not just the right wing that has firepower. It's not just the right wing who has balls. We are sick and tired of the bullshit. We're not going to take it anymore. And I agreed with a lot that this anarchist Boogaloo boy had to say. Not everything. I think Jimmy Dore is more correct on the healthcare aspect of it. As long as we do have a government, why not have one where instead of killing brown people, we pay for helping brown and white people to have healthcare? That seems fucking obvious to me. But I think that's something that people like this could be swayed on. We shall see. But let me go ahead and take my dab of the day. I'm going to go ahead and put a nice, cool Hawaiian shirt on for the Boogaloo theme. It's my favorite Hawaiian shirt. Sorry, it's a little dark, everyone. Yeah. Got the Hawaiian flower girl on there. Yeah. Let me taking my dab. Dab time.